So UFC Fight Night Tampa, Covington versus Buckley goes down this weekend. And if you are looking for my full card predictions and breakdowns, I will go ahead and link that video down below in the description. But guys, I wanted to make a separate video discussing just the main event and in depth, right? So what I want to do is discuss why I think this fight was actually booked in the first place, why it's very interesting to me. And then I want to break down both fighters and explain kind of what I see here and what I'm expecting from both fighters in this matchup. And then I will end with how I actually see the fight playing out and who I think is going to get this thing done come fight night. So first, why do I think this fight was booked, right? So first, it was supposed to be Ian Machado Gary taking on Joaquin Buckley, which that was a very interesting fight, right? And then we know Ian ended up stepping in for, to fight against Shavkat in the co-main event for UFC 310. So it's like, okay, Joaquin Buckley needs an opponent. And I'm sitting there listing off guys. I'm like, it's going to be this contender, that veteran, this guy, that guy. And lo and behold, who would have thought? It would be Colby Covington stepping up to the plate to actually fight a legit contender inside the division. And not just a legit contender, a guy in Joaquin Buckley who has been on an absolute rampage ever since coming down to 170 pounds. He is a big, dangerous, scary dude inside the welterweight division. He's been undefeated since coming down to 170. And I was like, I can't believe Colby took this fight. I'm like, is he even going to show up to the fight? I had so many questions about this fight being booked because I was so shocked. I'm like, we have never seen Colby fight a contender in their prime, basically, to earn a title shot. So we got to give him props for stepping into this fight. But it's interesting to me, right? Because Colby Covington, 36 years of age, he's fought for titles, he's got a bunch of money, he's been kind of living the life, right? He's a controversial guy inside the UFC, plays this, kind of cringe character, he pisses people off, he knows how to get under people's skin, he knows how to get people to tune in, whether you like him or not. You watch because you want to see him lose or you want to see him win. So in this case, this is an interesting fight, right? Because Colby Covington, I question if he still has the same hunger that he had a few years ago. And coming into this, you hear him now during media days like, look, I beat Buckley, I'm in line for another title fight. I think that that's absolutely crazy, right? You got a bunch of other contenders, guys that have never fought for belts, and, Colby's out there hot and cold, losing left and right, and going out there beating this old washed up guy, and then he gets a title fight. So yeah, if you go in there and beat Buckley, it might be the most impressive win of his career, right? So to go out there and beat a guy like Buckley in his prime would be absolutely, huge for Colby Covington. But to me, it's going to take a vintage Herculean type of effort from Colby to win this fight against the confident Joaquin Buckley, who just wants to fight the best of the best in this division. And to me, this is just a name and a guy who, whether you like him or not, Colby is kind of one of the bigger names in the division. I'm not saying he's a huge draw, but inside the welterweight division, it doesn't have a lot of stars. Got some guys, prospects on the rise. Colby's one of the bigger names, right? That kind of comes to mind, whether you like him or not. And so if Buckley could go in there and get it done, puts himself in position to possibly earn a title fight. But what this tells me is there's some truth to what Colby's saying, is the fact that if he goes out there and beats Buckley, the UFC is going to be like, great, we'll throw him into another title fight, which is just crazy. We've already seen it. It annoys me that, that we keep seeing this guy fight for titles. It's like, go beat a couple contenders, then fight for the title. We got other guys that are waiting for an opportunity. So with all that being said, I think this comes down to, whoever wins is looking at a possible title opportunity, right? Can't think of any other reason Colby would take this fight. This is a huge risk. I believe Buckley is the most dangerous guy that he has fought in his entire career, right? So what are we looking at here? Well, first I'll start with Joaquin Buckley. When you talk about a guy that, was up a weight class on 185 pounds, he was kind of hit or miss, right? He goes out there, gets that crazy highlight reel KO at Fight Island, and, he's got all this hype, right? He's doing all these great things, and then he kind of hits a little bit of a downturn, right? He loses a couple fights, and he's like, I'm in a position here to where if I lose again, I might find myself outside of the UFC. So he's like, okay, I'm going to dial it in. I'm going to, fix myself up here, and I'm going to drop down to 170 pounds. And ever since he's done it, he has been absolutely spectacular. He has just went out and basically ran through everybody that they have put in front of him. And in particular, for me, there's a couple fights that stand out, right? He goes out there against Nursultan Ruziboev. I mean, Ruziboev, he's a tall guy for the weight class, right? He's got pretty good striking, decent grappling. And Joaquin Buckley in St. Louis runs right through this guy. I mean, he's, tagging him up on the feet, utilizing the grappling. And I think with Buckley, in that fight, what it showed, he's got an outstanding gas tank down at welterweight, and he really has developed into a fully packaged fighter. He has the striking, he's got the grappling, he has the cardio that I think a lot of the times when you go down a weight class, sometimes we wonder, is that weight cut going to take that out of you? But what we have seen so far, that hasn't been a factor. But again, he's heading into his first 5-round main event against a guy like Colby Covington for the final event of the year. Big opportunity for Buckley, but I think he's ready for it, right? Because we've seen the cardio hold up. He's got outstanding power. He's got really good takedowns. You saw it against Ruziboev. Goes out there against Vicente Luque, right? And Vicente Luque goes out there and just made Themba Gorimbo look like an absolute scrub. And Gorimbo, pretty solid fighter, right? Luque's like, everyone was doubting me. Everyone forgot about me. Goes out there, hurts his ass with a right hand, ends up subbing him. Spectacular performance. So maybe Buckley's just that good, right? He's able to just really, impose his dominance on people in terms of how strong and dangerous he is. And so I credit that to Buckley. Then his most recent outing against Wonderboy Thompson, this was spectacular, right? And I have picked Buckley in every single fight since he's been at welterweight. And, he goes out there against Wonderboy. And a lot of people are like, Jake, you're an idiot for picking Buckley to win this fight. And I'm like, look, Wonderboy's the better striker. He's very technical. He's got this nice, pretty karate style. He's got weird timing. He's hard to get a hold of. But I think Buckley, the way he approaches fights is what you have to do against a guy like Wonderboy. Just go peekaboo style, Mike Tyson, like Buckley does, and explode in, F the game plan, close the distance, and try to knock this dude out. That's exactly what he did, right? Because if you sit there and take pictures and kind of are like, wow, I'm fighting Wonderboy. Look how cool that kick was. That's what kind of happens, I think, to guys. They stand in front and they get kind of, snake charmed by Wonderboy. Buckley says, no, I'm going to mix in the grappling. And again, to take down Wonderboy and control him a little bit, still I find that pretty impressive. Goes out there in the third round, lands a nasty shot on Wonderboy Thompson to get him out of there. So with Buckley, he's been on a tear, man. Like, he's dangerous. He's got crazy power. He's a big, strong guy, right? And that's a factor. Going from middleweight down to 170, there's going to, like we said, there's going to be some questions anytime someone does that, because we've seen fighters drop a weight class. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes the weight cut compromises the gas tank. We have not seen that with Joaquin Buckley. I actually think it's been great because it makes him more disciplined, right? You put in some extra miles, you put in the extra road work, and you do those things to help shed off that weight and get yourself in prime condition. And to me, this is a hungry contender in Buckley with dangerous power, that Mike Tyson peekaboo style. He's got some big kicks that he likes to throw. He's got good footwork. He, lateral steps really well. I mean, it's really kind of like watching a Mike Tyson type of style with that peekaboo, style. And he just explodes into range and lands some big, powerful shots, and actually has developed some pretty good grappling of his own. So coming into this, he absolutely, in my opinion, has the striking advantage. I don't think Colby Covington has ever faced somebody with the power and the size and kind of the explosiveness of Buckley. And I know that, Colby was out there against a guy like Masvidal, who has good striking. Later in his career, Masvidal, right? Then he goes out there against Kamaru Usman twice. Usman's a big, strong guy, right? He's not as explosive as Joaquin Buckley. Right now, Usman's a better wrestler, I would say, than Buckley. But in terms of the striking, I think Joaquin Buckley is one of the most dangerous guys, not only in the division, but I think he's the most dangerous guy Colby has faced. So to me, Buckley has the power advantage. He's got the striking, and I believe that his gas tank will hold up for 5 rounds against Colby Covington. And I think that if Buckley's going to get this done, he's going to, he's going to land a lot of damage, right? So there's a chance that he could win by decision by landing a lot of damage, landing a lot of good shots. But I think that is going to be the power of Joaquin Buckley. And if he lands, I just don't see Colby being able to survive so many shots over the course of 25 minutes from Joaquin Buckley. But the skill set, the overall skill set of Buckley, it's fine-tuned, man. Ever since he's dropped down to 170, it's been one of the best moves of his career, probably the best, because he's been on a tear. He's been impressive. He's very, very dangerous coming into this fight, and he's hungry. Like I said, wanting to fight the best of the best in this weight class. And then on the other side, you have Colby Covington, right? A guy that he's kind of tasted, he's been very close to the top, right? He goes out there, wins the interim title against Rafael dos Anjos. Absolutely spectacular performance. Put a pace on RDA, was just able to drown him with the pressure, with the volume. He's got, a crazy amount of, he's got just crazy volume, right? He can throw a lot of strikes at you. You saw what he did to Robbie Lawler. I mean, the guy threw like 1,000,000 shots in that fight, right? I mean, he just absolutely outpaced and just drowned Robbie Lawler with the striking volume and with the grappling. And that's the thing with Colby. He blends the grappling really well together with the striking. And he does that to keep you on your heels, does that to keep you guessing, and then he will just make you work. He has that American style wrestling where he's like, I'm just going to take you down. I'm going to wear on you. You can work back up to your feet. I'm going to take you down again. And it's not the most fun style to watch because he's not a guy that particularly goes out there and finishes people, right? He's got a couple KOs, TKOs, he's got a couple submissions on his record, but over the past several fights, it's been nothing but decisions Colby's losing, or he was getting, finished like in the Kamaru Usman first fight. So this is a very interesting fight because I think if you see a vintage Colby Covington, you're going to see a guy that is going to come after Buckley, right? I think he's going to be very cautious early on, and he is going to have to get to the wrestling early and often because if he stands in front of Buckley, it's going to be a problem because while Buckley does load up on his shots, this is a big dude, right? And I think he's going to be way stronger than Colby Covington, but I think the technique and the speed of Colby Covington when it comes to the grappling is going to be something that maybe Buckley has not fought coming into this. And that's where I think a lot of the Covington fans have some hope. And if you're on the Buckley side, you're like, oh, well, we're just way stronger than Colby Covington. But that isn't always enough, right? Sometimes, yes, having the strength advantage, and if you do know how to wrestle, it's a problem for the lighter guy because Colby doesn't cut a lot of weight to get, down to 170 pounds. So there's no question Buckley is going to be the bigger, stronger guy. But to me, it's going to be the pace, the volume, and the way that Colby blends everything together and weaponizes the gas tank. I mean, he's really going to have to rely on that to win this fight. And to me, I just don't think Colby is the same guy, right? He goes out there against Leon Edwards and he throws the kick, right? It bounces off the elbow of Leon Edwards. He says he broke his foot. And I mean, maybe, right? From what we know, that's what happened. And you just didn't see the same guy, right? He wasn't very aggressive. He wasn't really chasing any takedowns till later in the fight. And a lot of people speculated. They're like, look, he talked a lot of shit about Leon and he didn't want to get embarrassed and get knocked out by Leon Edwards. But in hindsight, who the hell's Leon Edwards knocking out, right? Leon Edwards absolutely should have finished Colby in that fight. But beside that, Colby Covington, his route to victory is very clear. We all know what it is. It's pressure, pace, volume, and activity. And if he could go out there and he could find a way to make Joaquin Buckley work and just wear on him and keep implementing the wrestling and not allowing Buckley to just, shuck him off and not just pop right back to his feet to get to space to where he could let the big combinations fly, I think Colby Covington can have success in this matchup. But I don't think we see a vintage Colby. And I think that if you're picking Colby, that's what you are banking on. And from what I have seen, a hungry young guy in Joaquin Buckley, a guy in Colby Covington who's made a lot of money, been in title fights, getting up there in age, is doing all this political shit. I just don't see the same type of, maybe he's working hard behind closed doors and, because I'm not, around Colby Covington, I don't know. But from what I've seen, I think that he has already kind of tasted the top. He's kind of already been there, done that. While Joaquin Buckley is the guy that is trying to put himself in position to get what Colby, has kind of had in the interim title. But Buckley is obviously looking to become a champion. I think Joaquin Buckley is able to win this fight. I think the explosiveness, I think that the power and the determination and the hungriness, you keep hearing me say hungriness, because to me, that's what this comes down to. A guy that needs this. Colby Covington doesn't need this. He could just not fight again, right? He's got a lot of money. And he's out there talking about rematching Kamaru Usman. Like, you've lost to him twice. I know the second time was close and the first time was competitive, but to me, that almost seems like he's trying to put a backup plan in place. I mean, Usman's lost 3 in a row. He's got some work to do before a title fight. So to me, it sounds like Colby is kind of putting a plan in place for if he loses to Buckley. He's got, he's got basically got fame. People know who he is. He's got money. He doesn't really have to compete. So to me, That's a guy in Colby who thinks that he can come into this and win this fight, and he's motivated by the opportunity of beating Buckley and thinking that he could be on the horizon for another title shot, which to me would just absolutely be disgraceful to go out there, put on a stinker against Leon Edwards like that. And even though, yeah, it'd be impressive if he beat Buckley, I still don't think that's enough for him to get a title shot. While Buckley could go out there and beat Colby Covington, especially by finish, because again, whether you like Colby or not, guy's tough. He's got a good gas tank. He's well-rounded. He's not a guy that really gets finished. So if Buckley goes out there and does that in a main event, that would be very, very impressive. I think Buckley could get it done, and I think he's going to do it inside 3 rounds, because I think the longer the fight goes, that is going to favor Colby Covington. But again, who knows? I don't know what Colby to expect just off of what I've seen. I don't think we see that vintage guy anymore. It's going to take a Herculean effort, like you heard me say in the beginning, for Colby to get this done. I think Buckley's the real deal. Like I've been saying, the dark horse of the division. He's dangerous, explosive, powerful. He wants this. I got Joaquin Buckley by KO. I think that he's able to get it done. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video. Let me know who you think wins this fight and how. Subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I appreciate it. See you next time.